Oh. Oh. Come on. Yo. Togo does hit a lot. Hey, just stick to one. Alright. This hippo is not so strong. No awakening. That's why. This is 810 Togo, yo. Crazy. That's crazy. Hello guys, so yesterday I made a promise that I'm gonna make another video today, and I'm a man of my word, so here I am. Alright, what you're looking at right now is the possible contents of the 4-star rare familiar egg, right? That is going to be given to us in the 100-day anniversary thingy, right? And I'm saying it's a rumor because there is really no confirmation that this is going to be the content, but it is possible that it is going to be the same thing. But before we begin, let me just tell you that the contents that I'm doing is mostly focused on familiar arenas, so the advice that I'm giving you could be geared towards that, so just keep that in mind. And another thing, our thought process in making a decision may vary depending if you're a free-to-play player, a dolphin, or a whale, or a super whale, right? So just keep that in mind, those two things, okay? Let's get to it. First order of business, let's remove 2 familiars in the pool of choices. First of them, Firelynx, because he sucks. Someone in the top 30 is using him. His CP is actually at 350k. Mine is at 295 for reference. So he's using a A7 Firelynx, and I easily beat him. So I would say the reason why he's never getting into the top 10 is because he's using a Firelynx. So that being said, Firelynx is a food in the familiar arena, so let's cancel him out. Next, Rimu. Rimu is mostly good for PvP types of content if you want to do Lava Valley, or if you want to see your name pop up and show off to your kingdom mates whenever you get a kill, something like that. So Rimu is good for that, but for the familiar arena, all the others left are a better option compared to Rimu. So again, as I've said earlier, this is a mostly focused on the familiar arena type of content. So yeah, we're canceling those 2 out. Next, we'll answer which familiar you should choose depending on the scenario. The first scenario is that you have a set team already and you are using one of the familiars in this selection. So if you have one, so let's say for example you have a team and you are using Hippocampus, my suggestion is you get that Hippocampus so that you can awaken him. As I've mentioned in previous videos, it is very important to awaken your familiar, especially in the familiar arena, because one, it reduces the cooldown. As you know, decreasing the cooldown, you have a higher chance in canceling other familiars in the arena, and number 2, it increases the stats and also increases the damage of the familiar skill, right? So it is very important to do a awakening. Okay, so if you have a set team and then you are using one of them in this choices here, then go ahead and select that one in order to get your familiar awakened. All right, next scenario, if you have 2 from the choices, like for example you have a Hippocampus and you also have a Staghorn, right? So if you have a A5 Hippocampus and then you have an A2 Staghorn, so the case will be you should increase the awakening of the one with the highest awakening. My reasoning for that is, one, you get like a star player, you have a dominant familiar in the arena in your team, and 2, it gives you like an option to remove the lower familiar in the future in case you want to mix it up. So you want to have that star player and then build around that star player. So awakening the one with the highest awakening that you have currently, unless the highest that you have is at A6 already. Because as you know, if you want to increase the awakening of an A6 into A7, you need 2 duplicates in order for it to be 100%. If you only have 1 duplicate, it will only be at 50% chance. And with Net Marble, I am not going to risk it. I don't. There are some secret nerfs here and there, so I would rather have, like, in this scenario, in this particular scenario, I would rather have a Staghorn go from A2 into A3 for sure, instead of risking to getting a Hippocampus from A6 to A7. But if you are feeling lucky, then go ahead, roll the dice, but don't blame me if you fail. All right, so there you go. That would be my opinion on that. Next scenario, what if you have multiple rares in this 4-star selection thingy? And in this case, you're probably a dolphin or a whale, right? And you just don't know which one to awaken. My answer to that is watch the tapes. Right? Watch the replays of your battles, your losses or your wins. Chances are you will see that a certain familiar in your lineup would be much more effective if he could cancel, if he could, cast his skill earlier. That way he will be able to cancel other familiars, or he won't be canceled by an opponent's familiar. Right, so in my case, my Hippocampus gets canceled a lot by a Staghorn. Right, so if I could increase the awakening of my Hippocampus, then he could cast early, right? And then he's the one who will cancel the Staghorn, the opponent. But then, of course, this will always depend on the opponent that you are going up against, because, what if it's an A10 Staghorn and you're only at A5 Hippocampus? Then going from A5 to A6 may not be, will not move the needle much if you're going against a A10 Staghorn. So this is a case-to-case basis, so that's why you have to watch the tapes, and then based on that, make a decision on who to upgrade, right? If you have like different options on who to awaken. Next scenario, you have a team. It is doing pretty good, but you don't have any of the familiars here, and you want to like just boost it a little bit maybe, right? And then you have like a spot where you could insert one of these familiars, right? So the answer to that would be, like, in general, Hippocampus, Staghorn, and Arachnes is a good option. Like, they are nukers that pretty much could be put in any types of situation, right? As of the case, unlike with Molten, Bunnybot, and Crab, it could be situational. So Staghorn, Hippocampus, and Arachnes, they could be good on their own and could be mixed and matched with any team. So this three would be good as an option, especially if you don't have any of the three. However, I am going to give the slight edge here to Staghorn, because I know for sure that after the update, tomorrow, after the maintenance, the next meta will be water types. If you don't know yet, the next rare 4-star familiar that is going to be in the event is a water type, right? More on that later. I'm going to talk about him later, so stick around to watch that. But so that is the reason why I'm going to give the slight edge to Staghorn, because an earth type is good against a water type. So choosing him could help you right off the bat. But then again, you could probably wait a little bit to choose which one to get, and then pull in the event banner for a while. Maybe you get to have the 4-star rare water type, and then you can choose Hippocampus. That way you could synergize your new 4-star rare familiar with the Hippocampus as your selection. So that will be the answer to that certain scenario. So right off the bat, Staghorn, but if you want to wait a little bit and then you get the 4-star rare water type, go with Hippocampus. All right. Next, and probably the final scenario that we're going to talk about, is if you are a free-to-play player and you're not really spending in the game, and you don't have a lot of good familiars yet, like you don't have a lot of 4-stars, and your team doesn't really work well as of the moment, and you need one of these 4-star rares to, give you a little bit of a boost to be at least passable in the familiar arena. So I'll give you two options. Arachnes and Mr. Krabs over here, right? If you are a free-to-play player, you will definitely have a Toko, right? Or I mean, unless you were offline for for the duration of that event, but you will, if even if you are a free-to-play player, you should have a Toko. Witch's Kitchen will give you a Sorbor, which will work well with both, right? Both are melee types, so if one of them dies, could power up Sorbor as well. Arachnis has that skill that will be. It could work with anybody, right? Because basically the skill will whoever gets hit with the skill will take 20% more damage for 6 seconds. So even if you have a team with just a Sorobor and then a Toko and then maybe 2-3 stars that you have, let's say for example Wombat and then a Sunflower, both DPS types range familiars, then it could work with Arachnes. Same thing with Mr. Krabs. His skill is actually very OP. So stun 5 seconds to the people in the back or familiars in the back. So that's 2 getting stunned for 5 seconds. That's a lot of time. So you can easily pair him with maybe a Petromaton, which is a 4-star. And then for sure you will have a Might or Ouroboros or a Suryu. So that could be your team. So Petromaton, Mr. Krabs, Ouroboros, Toko, and then Sorbor. So those 5 could be a passable team combination for a free-to-play player. So that would be my answer to that question. Now, I didn't really talk about Bunnybot and Molten Lion mainly because their value is situational, and so it will be very hard to put into words how to really make it work with them. So let's just go with those 4 depending on the scenario that you have. So it will be very niche to use a Bunnybot or a Molten Lion in Familiar Arena. All right, there you go. So that is for the 4-star rare familiar selection egg. All right, now we will talk about the familiar in the next banner. This is Zaboon. He is a water element attack type. How do I know that he is the familiar in the next banner? Well, it was actually announced, but not specifically Zaboon. If you can see here, it says here, the next one is 4-star Puffu, right? And Zaboon is a puffer fish. So yeah, who else could it be? So they just changed the name from Zaboon to Puffu, and that makes a lot of sense to me. So right, so that's why we are going to have Zaboon, who alias is Puffu, in the next banner. What does he do? So several small hits of water damage in an area. That's his active skill in the in the field, right? Boosted damage against frosted enemies. So if you have what do you call this, Suryu in your team, then here's a good combination. Reduces enemy movement speed by a small amount. So perfect for a rogue, which I am using. Boosted damage in dungeons for episode 6, which is going to be the next episode. So this is the second episode for global, but they're using the episode. So our episode 2 is actually episode 6 for Korea and Taiwan servers, right? So next, passive boosts damage by a small percentage for each attack type familiar in your party. So basically a water type Tarracona, right? So very same, passive. Adventure and dueling mode, which we are actually concerned about. So for every 3 normal attacks, does a small hit of water damage to nearby enemies. So basically like Tarracona. And if you don't know yet, Zaboon is actually a range type. So he actually eliminates the weakness of Tarracona, which is, getting in the middle of the battlefield and dying early, right? Or earlier than all the other familiars. So that's the weakness, that is my perceived weakness of Tarracona. And so Zaboon having the same basically skill as Tarracona and being range type, this could be very good, right? When receiving damage, and then there's a bonus when receiving damage or getting tripped, that does a small hit of water damage to nearby enemies and inflict frozen. So a good combination with my hippocampus. I'm definitely gonna try to pull this guy. But and then there's more boosts damage against frozen enemies. This guy's OP. Again, we don't know the numbers yet, so we don't really know like how strong the damage numbers will be when he launches, and so that's why we're gonna talk about him when he launches, just so we know exactly how effective he can be in the familiar arena. But in terms of what we're looking at here, uh, in theory, this guy is OP, right? So hits like Tarracona and eliminates the weakness of Tarracona. He could also be a good, frontliner because whenever he gets damage, the familiar hitting him actually gets it gets damage as well and gets frozen, which could be a window for Hippocampus to destroy, right? So this familiar has a lot going on for him. So definitely OP in my opinion. So if you have been saving your diamonds or your familiar tickets, this is probably the good time to use them, right? So and it could probably boost your ranking in the familiar arena right away because again, Tarracona is the current meta, and a lot of people are using Tarracona as of the moment. And so if you get a Zaboon, you basically get to eliminate Tarracona most of the time since Tarracona is weak against water types. So that gives you a huge edge in the current meta. So could boost your rank fast. Okay, so there you go. That should be the end of the video. I talked a lot, so yeah, we will have a lot of things to talk about after the update. But yeah, I hope you learned something from that. I hope that will help you make a decision once the server gets back up and running tomorrow. And you know me, I'm just here to help. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next one.